All right, so shall we start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so good morning, everyone. My name's Dave McCowan, and I'm the PTL for the Barbican project. I've been serving as PTL for the last 4 cycles and was core reviewer for a couple cycles before that. And I want to share with you our project update for the Queens cycle that we're currently in the middle of. So first, an introduction. What does Barbican do? So Barbican is the secret and key manager for OpenStack. And that means that it allows operators and users and services to securely access and store secrets that they need to do their function. So these secrets include things like encryption keys, passwords, and TLS certificates. And Barbican provides access to these objects through a REST API. And this REST API allows users to create new secrets, to store or retrieve secrets, and then also to manage secrets, including things like expirations. So a little project background. Barbican was first introduced in the Havana release, so it's currently 5 years old. And in the last Pike release, we had 52 individual contributors representing 18 companies. So we have great diversity and contributions. A look ahead, quick overview, so some new features that we're currently working on for the Queens release. In the category of usability, we're adding some filters to our list requests to give you a smaller list of available secrets instead of the only option of getting all at once. And we want to add an ID field to the object response to make it more consistent with other OpenStack projects. In the area of security, we're going to add a new plugin. We want to make it compatible to the HashiCorp Vault secret manager, which is a pretty standard and popular one outside of the OpenStack realm. And so we want to bring it into a plugin behind Barbican so we can use Vault with OpenStack projects. In the area of interoperability, we want to work with other OpenStack projects, and currently Swift and Tacker are looking to release Barbican compatibility during the Queen cycle. And we're always looking for new documentation. For Barbican upgrades, we currently support offline upgrades. That was new to the Pike release. For the Queens release, we're looking for rolling upgrades while Barbican's still running. And in Queen cycle, like all projects, we have some housekeeping to take care of, including interoperability with the new Gate software, Zool version 3, and to remove the code for some features that we deprecated in previous cycles. So to break it down a little bit, so Barbican provides the interface to manage and store and retrieve secrets, but it actually doesn't do the secure storage itself. To provide operators a choice of secure storage, we have plugins. And in our current support, we have 4 different plugins we support. We have one we call Simple Crypto, and this is really just for testing and for in the lab. In this case, we have a master encryption key that we store in the Barbican config file. When secrets come in, we encrypt it and then just store it in the database. The other database adapter plugin is we call the PKCS11. And this uses an HSM, which is a hardware security module, which is specialized hardware specifically for crypto. And in this case, when we get a secret into Barbican that we want to store securely, we send it to the HSM. The HSM will encrypt it using the key stored securely on the HSM. We get the encrypted value back, and that's what we store in the database. Another option is we support direct access to HSMs via the KMEP protocol. In this case, if we get a secret to store, we will, using the KMEP protocol, access the HSM and store it inside the HSM. So if you have a security need to store your secrets within specialized hardware, that's your option there. And then the 4th way is the Red Hat dog tag software, which it can uses software to securely store secrets. To enhance this support in the Queens layer, we're looking to add an Oslo Castellan plugin. So Castellan is a library that's part of Oslo that provides an interface into key managers. For the Castellan project, they're looking at adding behind it access to Vault. And so if we add Castellan as a backend to Barbican, then we'll have access to Vault and anything that becomes part of Castellan in the future. Other things in the roadmap that currently we don't have people working on yet is integration with the free IPA Vault, which is another secret manager, or integration with TPMs. So that's the secure hardware in a lot of servers that's used for security. So that would be a great value if somebody could work on that. The key manager clients. So client is the little piece of software you use to access Barbican. So in the current support, we have the REST API, which you can access programmatically or through curl or a browser, perhaps. The CLI commands, the OpenStack command, OpenStack secret list would be an example to get a list of all the secrets stored in Barbican. There's a Python Barbican client, and then the Castellan library are all clients currently that can access Barbican. So for the Queen's updates, we're looking at enhancing the Python Barbican client by adding field names to make it easier to get the information, to parse the information that comes back, and the file parameter. So a lot of times secrets are going to be binary. Dumping that to standard out isn't the most usable, so we're going to add a file parameter. So if you get a binary key back, you can store it directly into a file. And there's some deprecated code that currently is in Python Barbican client that we're scheduled to remove that code to simplify what's left. In the roadmap, we currently don't have a Horizon access to Barbican. That's a roadmap item that we would like to have volunteers to help work on that. So in the area of documentation, we've got pretty good documentation right now. We have a quick start guide, a developer's guide, an installation manual, and an API reference. During the Pike cycle, we added a chapter to the OpenStack security guide on key management. During the Queen cycle, we'd like to add more use case documentation, and we'd like to update the developer's guides. Some things have changed from cycle to cycle, and we haven't kept our documentation up to date. So that's some work we'd like to schedule for this release. And just in general, in roadmap, we'd like to continually improve and update the documentation. So for cross-project integration, so this is less about what Barbican's doing, but what the other projects are doing. So here's a list of projects that currently support Barbican for their secret management. So Cinder, Nova, Glance, Sahara, Magnum, and Octavia all store their sensitive information in Barbican. Looking forward in Queens, we know that Swift is going to store its root encryption key in Barbican. That's already released in their milestone 1 for Queens. And then Tacker is also has on their roadmap to store its secrets in Barbican. Some additional work we'd like to do as well is more scenario testing in the gate, so actually cross-project testing. So to make sure that any changes that we make to Barbican doesn't break Cinder, for example, or vice versa, changes to Cinder doesn't break their ability to do encrypted volumes with a Barbican key. So access policy. So as part of secret management, one of the main jobs of Barbican is to decide who has access to a secret and who doesn't. And so these are policy decisions that Barbican will make. So the default and most common policy that we use is RBAC, or role-based access control. So in this case, you define in Keystone, each user would have a role in a project. And if that role is admin or creator, then that user would be able to create secrets. If that role is observer, then that user would only be able to read secrets. If the user does not have a particular special role in a project, then no one have access to the secrets at all. An additional feature for access policy we have is access control lists. And this can be user-based. So a user that's not part of your project may need access to your secret to do its job. In this case, you can assign read access to a particular user. And then a third way, which is probably not recommended, but there's a policy JSON file that's read by Oslo policy code, and you can customize your secret access as well. So that's our current support for access policy. For the Queen's release, we'd like some more usability enhancements to our ACL support. Right now it has to be done on a per user and a per secret basis, and if we could make that easier, that would be a welcomed enhancement. And roadmap looking forward, we really need to follow Keystone's lead here, because all of our access decisions are based on Keystone authentication tokens. So as Keystone evaluates new things like application credentials or trust mechanisms, these are things that we can incorporate into Barbican's policy as well. So Project Navigator is the website run by the foundation that measures how mature a project is. So we've made some good progress in over the last couple cycles of boosting our maturity index from, I think we were 2 a couple cycles ago, and now we're up to 5. During the Pike cycle, we got an additional index point by adding offline upgrades, and we're looking to have an additional point of maturity during the Queen cycle by adding offline upgrades. And so that's our current maturity index. So the user survey results is put out by the foundation every 6 months. The newest user survey was put out this week, and in the summary of the user survey, they called out that Barbican Key Management Service was among the projects that saw significant growth in production usage. So that's fantastic news. Last cycle, we had 3% of OpenStack deployments reported as being in production. It's up to 7% now, so it's more than doubled in the last 6 months, according to the user survey. Those projects are using Barbican in testing, went from 8% to 7%. So it looks like a lot of those users who perhaps were testing have now gone into production. And those who reported Barbican as interesting is currently at almost 20%, which is slightly down from the previous cycle. But the increase in production use we saw is great news. And so in summary then, we need your help. If you look back a couple cycles, we had maybe at least 10 really active developers, and now we're down to 2 or 3. We do have enough core reviewers to review patches. We do keep up with bug reports, but if we want to keep up with those roadmap items that I listed, we're going to need some additional support. So in particular, we'd like to see improvement with how we work with TPMs and other key management systems. So if you have expertise in that area, we'd welcome your help there. If you're a documentation writer, or if you're a new user and you have to use our documentation and you see issues, please submit patches to correct any dated documentation you find or errors in the documentation. So we don't currently have a Horizon plugin. If you have expertise in that area, that would be welcome. Cross-project developers, so if you work on a different OpenStack project that has sensitive information that needs to be stored, that would be great. We'd be happy to help you with that implementation effort. And so in short, all contributions are welcome. There's a backlog right now of feature requests that people are asking for, and also bug reports. So if you're looking for an OpenStack home, Barbican project would be a great place. And so thanks. That's what I have. If you have any questions. All right. Thank you very much. So good.